So once again, good morning. Naimbag nga bigat kada kayo amin, masanton, kabosan, at kayo namin. Allow me at the outset to express my sincerest, profound thanks to the administration of Pangasinan State University under the tutelage of President Galas. And of course, the NSTP department, special mention to Dr. Susana Fernandez. And my special thanks also goes to Dr. Con Ek. I hope to meet you in person soon, if not sooner. Trainers and participants in this university-wide orientation, sterling greetings. So allow me to have you for a walkthrough on some updates pertaining to the implementation of the National Service Training Program and the National Service Reserve Corps. I would make it really brief for the discussion of the NSRC, because the focus of attention in today's gathering is the program, National Service Training Program. So let me begin by introducing myself. I'm CJ Vidal. I'm with the University of Luzon. I've been with the National Service Training Program unit of the university since its inception. And since then, I've been part of the national organization of NSTP educators and implementers in 2006. Okay, I was appointed as the national secretary, and since then I have had held the position which provide me the opportunity to participate in the review and revision of the implementing rules and regulations representing the Philippine Society of NSTP Educators and Implementers Incorporated. So allow me to give you a very brief introduction about PSNE. So the Philippine Society of NSTP Educators and Implementers Incorporated was registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission in 2006, following its precursor organization, the ASIP, the Association of CWTS Implementers of the Philippines Incorporated. And as of today, we have a total of 360 plus lifetime members, about 100 institutional members across the archipelago. So as an organization, its mandate is to advocate for the implementation of NSTP and other related concerns like NSRC. So through this organization, I was able to partake in the discussions regarding the implementation of NSTP, as well as matters concerning National Service Reserve Corps. So today, permit me please to orient the participants of this university-wide orientation on the following. So this will be the order of my presentation. So let me start with a very brief overview, which will be the springboard for my discussion of the National Service Training Program and its salient features, particularly the provisions in relation to its implementing rules and regulations. And then we have the special discussion about the guidelines in the implementation of NSRC. And finally, we have the school-based NSRC units operationalization part of NSRC. So let me start with the passage of NSTP. So the history of National Service Training Program started from the creation of Commonwealth Act number 1, also referred to as the National Defense Act, providing for the national defense of the Philippines, penalizing certain violations thereof, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes under the government of then President Manuel L. Quezon. So this act requires male college students to finish 2 years or 4 semesters of military training, okay, to be reserve cadets for the national defense of the Philippines. Okay, so from its beginning in 1912, okay, where instructions were military instructions were conducted in UP. So we have in 1935 the National Defense Act promulgation. In August 8, 1980, okay, the said act was superseded by the Presidential Decree number 1706 under the title National Service Law. Okay, it requires compulsory national service from all the citizens of the Philippines, which was composed of 3 main programs, program components, namely Civic Welfare Service or CWS, Law Enforcement Service or LES or LES, and Military Service or MS. Back then, college students were given an option to choose one from among these components, similar to what we are observing in line with the implementation of NSTP. That is to comply as a requirement of tertiary education. Okay, so the implementation of National Service Law, except the provisions on military service, was suspended, okay, by Presidential Memorandum Order number 1 of President Corazon C. Aquino after the ouster of President Marcos. Okay, so this was in 1986, okay, when the military service, okay, was renamed the Basic Reserve Officers Training Corps or ROTC, effective school year 1986-1987. In the year 1991, okay, the implementing rules and regulations of Republic Act 7077 modified the basic ROTC course into the expanded program as mandated. The National Service Training Program Act of 2001 or the Republic Act number 9163, okay, was signed into law in 2002, okay, amending the provisions of Republic Act 7077, sections of Presidential Decree number 1706 and other laws, decrees, orders, rules and regulations, and other issuances consistent with the military training of the Reserve Officer Training Course, or ROTC. But prior to the signing of the act, okay, it is to be recalled that in 1995, expanded ROTC was conceptualized, okay, where all baccalaureate students were required to enroll in military training service component of the expanded ROTC. In 2001, okay, we have witnessed the end of mandatory Reserve Officers Training Corps in the Philippines because of anomalies, okay, and because of public clamor for the cessation of or the abolition of ROTC. That paved the way for the crafting of a new law, okay, that will now be known as the National Service Training Program. So by virtue of NSTP Act of 2001, NSTP is implemented and form part of the curricula of all baccalaureate degree programs, okay, and of at least 2-year technical vocational courses and requisite for graduation, which is started an academic year 2002-2003. So as the state recognizes the youth's vital role in nation building and to attain its goals for the youth shall be motivated, trained, organized, and mobilized in military training, literacy, civic welfare, and other similar endeavors in the service of the nation. So the program is composed of three program components, okay, namely Reserve Officers Training Corps or ROTC. So technically, ROTC is not totally out. Okay. By virtue of Republic Act 9163, it was made part of the options. Okay. In addition to the non-program components such as Literacy Training Service or LTS, and we have the Civic Welfare Training Service or CWTS. Okay. So NSTP is one of the requirements for graduation, okay, and to assist the higher education institutions, okay, and the Commission on Higher Education in the issuance of the serial numbers. Okay. There was, okay, a move by the Commission on Higher Education to craft for the guidelines and procedures. Okay. And in 2019, a technical working group was convened in order to prepare, okay, the guidelines concerning NSTP. Okay. So it is to be understood that this particular program is intended for incoming freshman students. So all students enrolled in NSTP 1 shall undergo common module phase for 25 hours training period. So upon completion of the common module phase, the student must select the NSTP component where he or she will pursue. That is why higher education institutions, okay, are mandated, okay, to conduct orientation in order to properly orient, okay, the students as to what program component they will pursue, okay, in relation to the said requirement. So graduates of LTS and CWTS components shall be issued with the certificate of completion with corresponding serial number. So this will track the this is a tracking system for the graduates of NSTP, particularly the non-military program components, in so far as the operationalization of the National Service Reserve Corps, okay, is concerned. So you will note that the NSRC is also patterned from the reservist system that the Armed Forces of the Philippines has for the ROTC graduates. So aside from the basic law that was implemented relative to relative to NSTP Act, relative to NSTP, also known as Republic Act 9163. There are other issuances and initiatives that would complement or align to the purpose of NSTP. So allow me to just have a rundown of it. Okay. So we have CMO number 26, series of 2025, Program of Instruction on Values Formation. CMO number 33, series of 2009, for the integration of environmental education in the tertiary education curriculum, particularly the Civic Welfare and Training Service component of NSTP. We have the CMO number 27, series of 2015, on guidelines and procedures on the issuance of National Service Training Program serial numbers. CMO number 1, series of 2019, on integration of peace studies for education into the relevant higher education curricula. Memorandum from the chairperson regarding minimum standards for the NSTP common and specific modules, which I will have to discuss at the end of my presentation. Memorandum from the chairperson regarding IGP on the development, organization, training, administration, utilization, mobilization, operation, accreditation, protection, and funding of NSRC, also included in this presentation. Memorandum from the chairperson regarding guidelines in the implementation of the National Greening Program. Additionally, we have CHED and NYC, or the National Youth Commission, that issued Joint Memorandum Circular number 1, series of 2019. And this pertains to the guidelines for the exemption of SK officials from taking the NSTP CWTS in accordance with Section 16, number 2 of Republic Act 10742. So, as to updates on the development of NSTP implementing guidelines and minimum standards of NSTP modules, a little background there. So the TWG, which I have mentioned earlier, was created by virtue of Commission and Bank Resolution number 270. And in 2019, okay, the TWG was created to formulate the NSTP guidelines, okay, to review and to revise the minimum standards of NSTP modules, which will serve as guide to higher education institutions for uniform and enhanced implementation of the program. So the implementation, okay, was actually back then targeted academic year 2020-2021. So which is why we had it in 2020, 2021, the initial run of the said guidelines. So the draft guidelines and revised minimum standards were subjected to zonal consultations in Mindanao, sometime in November 2019, in Visayas, yes, same November 2019, and for Luzon cluster, it was sometime the last quarter of 2020. Okay. And the public virtual consultation conducted in June 2020. So that was the issuance of NSTP Module 1, okay, through a memorandum, okay, dated November 4, 2020. Okay. So the move to review and revise, okay, the TWG was in relation to some of what were put across by the Department of National Defense, okay, in 2019, based on the IRR Series 2009 of Republic Act 9163, which are as follows. Number one, in recognition of the new basic education curriculum, okay, we need to also review, okay, the implementation of NSTP and to look into the impact of the K-12 program, okay, to this to NSTP. Okay. Also, as I have mentioned, 24-hour common module. Okay, there were observations, okay, by experts and practitioners, as well as implementers in the field, to review as well the course contents. And the shift in higher education academic calendar, okay, you will recall that pre-pandemic, there was already a move to shift, okay, from the usual start of the classes in June to August. Okay. Then we have the exemption of most test the students, okay, basically because most test the programs, okay, are actually less than 2-year courses. So if you will have to base it on the stipulations of Republic Act 9163, the program is to be taken by students enrolled in at least 2-year, okay, TechVoc program. Okay. Additionally, we have the updating of the national security concerns, okay, based on Executive Order 70, the non-establishment of NSRC, vis-a-vis the provisions of Republic Act 10121 or the Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act. In 2015, I conducted a national study under the helm of the Local Government Academy of the Philippines, and for the assessment of higher education institutions, no, implementing disaster risk reduction program through the NSRC, okay, units of the said institutions. And lastly, we have the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act, or Republic Act, under Republic Act 10931. Of course, in addition to this, okay, the issue on the global health crisis back then, okay, the COVID-19 pandemic, okay, as NSTP is often associated to community immersion, okay, mass gathering, and close person-to-person interaction. So because of its nature, there were concerns raised on how it can be implemented. No? That's why we were like in limbo, no? Prior the rolling out of the guidelines, no? Because we didn't know what to do, no? During those times, no? On how to proceed, no? With the implementation of NSTP. And to address these issues and concerns relative to COVID-19 pandemic and the one that I have mentioned, okay, the TWG was convened, and of course series of discussions, okay, were conducted relative to this. Okay. So if you will take a look at this illustration, this will tell you, okay, the passage of the new IRR and the new IGP for NSRC. So based on the comments of DND and the Commission on Higher Education, okay, in 2019, okay, there was a joint committee meeting, no, for the creation of a technical working group for the revision of NSTP IRR. Okay. Following that, in July 3, 2020, you may wonder why the hiatus, which was about 7 months, no? Because it was to be recalled that we had the COVID-19 lockdown, COVID-19 related lockdown in March up to June. Okay, so it was only in July 2020 when the first NSTP TWG meeting was held. Okay, this was followed by another TWG meeting in July 16, and another one in August 4, but this time with TESDA. Okay. In September 2, 2020, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council Memorandum 72 and 73 series of 2020 was drafted, and for comments from NDRIMC member agencies, no, including PISNE, or the Philippine Society of Philippine Society of NSTP Educators and Implementers Incorporated. On December 18, 2020, a meeting was held to harmonize, okay, the stipulations of the draft memorandum with the ACDV guidelines. Okay, so this is the proposed advance program, you know, for volunteers. Okay. And last January 15, 2021, there was a roundtable discussion, okay, at the USEC level. Okay. So comprised of the Department of National Defense, the Commission on Higher Education, the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, plus we have the Department of Interior and Local Government. February 8, 2021, the presentation of the NSTP IRR and NSRC IGP during the NSTP and NSRC meeting. Okay. And in February 16, okay, was the deadline for the submission of the comments and recommendations. So immediately after the deadline on February 19, the same was presented to CDA together with CDDAA and CDDAO. On March 9, 2021, the first quarter disaster preparedness pillar meeting, okay, the draft was presented on April 23, 2021. It was presented to US VRA, okay, of the Department of National Defense together with CHED and TESDA officials. Okay. Then May 7, 2021, preparatory meeting for the public consultation, and thus was held the public consultation on May 11, 2020. So just to cut it short, so the process milestone is depicted in this timeline. Okay. So from May 11, 2021, the public consultation on draft revised IRR to NSTP. Okay. And then we have July 2020 to 2021 prior this where the activities undertaken by the TWG, okay, in order to ensure that public consultation, okay, will be possible this time around. On June 12, 2021, okay, there was this DepEd National Online event, okay, and thereby creating awareness on NSTP. Okay. And then we have on July 20, 2021, we have updated the implementing guidelines and procedures for accreditation and operationalization of the National Service Reserve Corps. Okay. And the presentation to CHED, okay, SEB on October 12, 2020. So this was the resolution creating the TWG. Okay. So naming the composition of the TWG on NSTP, okay, under, of course, the chairmanship of the Director of the Office of Student Development and Services of the Commission on Higher Education, and co-chaired by the Office of Programs and Standards Development of OPSD. And these are the terms of reference. So review, revisit the existing implementing rules and regulations, formulate policies and guidelines, develop NSTP 1 and 2 modules for its 3 components, okay, and others. So these are the members of the technical working group from the tripartite organizations. Okay. And this matrix represent the comparison, okay, between the implementing rules and regulations of NSTP in 2009 and the proposed, you have 2021. So I'm not going to discuss one by one. I'm just going to have it flashed on the screen so you may know what parts, what provisions were revised relative to the latest IRR of NSTP. Okay, so we have for section 2 on declaration of policy, we have the inclusion of the term defense preparedness, voluntarism. Okay, then for section 3, as to definition of terms, the reiteration of the term voluntarism. Okay. Similarly, insofar as Reserve Officers Training Corps is concerned, we have the mention of the title, okay, of Republic Act number 7077, okay, Citizen Armed Forces or Armed Forces, Citizen Armed Force or Armed Forces of the Philippines Reservist Act. And the inclusion of NSRC, okay, and its primary mandate as an organization composed of graduates of CWTS, LTS, okay, of NSTP, as mandated by Republic Act 9163, okay, or NSTP Act of 2001. Okay. Then we have the inclusion of other terms like HEI, NSR, cadet or trainee, national service, private higher education institutions, state universities and colleges, technical vocational education institutions. Then we have for Section 4, establishment of the National Service Training Program, okay. The insertion of the terms in public and private educational institutions and starting academic year, because we want that it be mentioned in detail as to when this provision shall take effect. Okay. So as you will recall, it was targeted, the implementation of the revised guidelines starting academic year 2021-2022. Okay. And then we have also the following provisions, the mention of the joint memorandum circular. Okay. The one that I mentioned pertaining to Sangguniang Kabataan officials enrolled in CWTS2. Okay. Note, only in CWTS2. Okay. In fulfillment of the requirements of NSTP CWTS2 per Commission on Higher Education and National Youth Commission Joint Memorandum Circular number 1, entitled Guidelines for the Exemption of the SK Officials from taking the NSTP CWTS in accordance with Section 16, number 2 of Republic Act 10742. Okay. And then we have also the insertion of the acronym TVI, the inclusion of the term disaster risk reduction and management, or DRRM, and fire safety and suppression, okay, and others. Okay. And some specific provisions on relative to the stipulations of section number 7 on NSTP offering in higher ed and technical vocational educational institutions. Okay, so for schools that do not meet the required number of students to maintain the optional ROTC or any of the NSTP components, students shall be allowed to cross-enroll to other schools, okay, regardless of whether the NSTP components in the said schools are being administered by the same or another branch of service of the AFP, Commission on Higher Education, and TESDA. Okay. And the creation of provincial NSTP joint committee, okay, along with other concerned government agencies, okay, in order to assume the role of conducting the annual NSTP performance evaluation. Okay, in the same way, the ROTC or the RAATI is structured. So we have the provincial level. Okay. So the annual administrative and tactical inspection, okay, developed by the DND AFP, okay, and it shall be the primary basis of the performance of the trainees, okay, when it comes to the ROTC program. So then we have for the creation of the National Service Reserve Corps, okay, we have the insertion of the phrases network and members of the disaster risk reduction and management councils at the national, regional, and local levels. This is to reinforce the provisions of Republic Act 10121 or the DRRM Act of the Philippines. Okay. All right. So in November 2021, okay, so the historic signing of the revised implementing rules and regulations. Okay, so the chairpersons of the three agencies, as mentioned in Republic Act 9163, as the primary agencies that is concerned with the implementation of NSTP in the country. We have the DND, TESDA, and the Commission on Higher Education, represented by Dr. Popoy de Vera. So this was the document duly signed by the representatives of the three agencies. Okay. And now the discussion of the salient features. Okay. So we have the following amendments, okay, based on the 2009 IRR. Okay. Number one, okay, I already have mentioned this on the role of youth, the inclusion of the term volunteerism. Next, we have the definition of terms. So for the definition of terms, from 9 items, it has become 25 items in total. So with the inclusion of the definitions of AAATI, HEIs, LUCs, MSRC, NSRC, NGO, SBNU, TVET, TVIs, and so forth. Okay. As to Rule 3, program implementation, okay, we have the inclusion of the following provisions. So I already have pointed this out. All Sangguniang Kabataan officials who comply with the prescribed requirements and in good standing, okay, whether elected or appointed, shall during their incumbency be exempted from taking the NSTP CWTS subjects. This is pursuant to Section 16, Paragraph 2 of Republic Act 10742, otherwise known as the Sangguniang Kabataan Reform Act of 2015, and the Joint Memorandum Circular Number 1 Series of 2019 under the auspices of the Commission on Higher Education and the National Youth Commission. Still on Rule 3 on program implementation coverage, okay, as is stipulated in Republic Act 9163, the Act, okay, the NSTP Act of 2001, okay, state universities and colleges like PSU are required to offer the ROTC component. Okay. So further, SUCs with constituent universities or campuses shall offer both the basic and advanced ROTC programs. Okay, so remember that we are talking about basic and advanced ROTC programs. It is also to be understood and remembered that only the basic ROTC is part and parcel of the NSTP. Okay, so the NSTP director or its equivalent, has only supervision over basic ROTC. Okay, the advanced ROTC is under the chargeship of the DND, okay, or the AFP as the case may be. Okay, so this is subject to the provisions stipulated in Section 39 and Section 40 of Republic Act 7077. Okay, yeah, this is the Reservist Act. Okay. Additionally, still on program implementation and program components, the inclusion of the following terms or stipulations. One-day orientation. Okay, so I already have mentioned this. Okay, regarding the 3 program components. Okay, and it shall be offered to incoming first-year college students prior to their enrollment for them to effectively comprehend each component. Okay. So the orientation shall form part of the advocacy campaign to be led by the CHED, TESDA, and DND, and in collaboration with the Department of Education or DepEd. Originally, it was meant to be a partnership with the Department of Education for the orientation, because from senior high school, when they enroll in college, okay, so they need to already have an idea on what these 3 program components are, under the National Service Training Program. Okay, so thus the partnership sealed with the memorandum of agreement, okay, by the Department of Education and the Department of National Defense. Okay. So the Department of National Defense, we purposed a 2018 DND MOA on the Advanced Citizenship Training Program to expand NSTP orientation allocation in the high school level. And then we have Citizenship and Preparedness Program in the senior high school to reinvigorate citizenship advancement training. Now, as to DND CHED, so the bilateral discussion between these two agencies of the government was particularly to align the ANSPS with the Advanced ROTC program. So what is this ANSPS? Okay, so the plan was to offer a ladderized program leading to bachelor's degree, okay, if the student, okay, is serious, okay, in pursuing, okay, a career in the military. Okay, so where advanced ROTC graduates with degrees are aligned with the Armed Forces Occupational Specialties, or AFOS. So this is not yet implemented, but some of our technical experts have had this part of the proposals, okay, the Advanced ROTC ANSPS tie-up. Okay, and this targets the following courses. We have the BS Infotech, BS Computer Science, BS Information Systems, Criminology, Industrial Security Management, Engineering, Marine Transportation or Engineering, even Bachelor of Science in Nursing. So from the basic ROTC, which is to be completed in the first year of the student, as NSTP is to be taken in a period of 2 semesters, equivalent to 1 school year or academic year. They may advance to pursuing advanced ROTC for MS 3132 and MS 4142 into what is to be called ANSPS, okay, for them to qualify as a graduate military assistant, okay, which actually is a pre-POTC. So moreover, we have the following provisions: appropriate strategies and materials for one-day orientation, such as informational videos. Okay. Then we have the establishment of NSTP joint committees at the national, regional, provincial. I already have pointed this out earlier. A tripartite agreement to be executed by CHED, TESDA, and DND, okay, regarding this. Now, on program implementation, particularly management, monitoring, and evaluation, the NSTP Joint Committee shall coordinate and establish linkages and substantive engagements with DRRM councils at the provincial, regional, and national levels on matters of training and mobilization. Okay. Moreover, the created NSTP Joint Committee at the provincial, regional, and national levels shall be responsible for monitoring of all program components in all HEIs and TVIs, or technical vocational institutions. So the CHED regional offices, TESDA regional offices, and DNDAFP through the MSRC, okay, shall oversee and monitor the implementation of the NSTP under their respective jurisdictions. So to determine if the trainings conducted are in consonance with the NSTP Act. So these offices shall submit periodic reports to the NSTP Regional Joint Committee to be furnished to the NSTP National Joint Committee for consolidation. And other provisions pertaining to the NSTP Joint Committee functions. And for the conduct of the Regional Annual Administrative Tactical Inspection, okay, for the ROTC program, by the major services of AFP, or the Armed Forces of the Philippines. And of course, the exercise of inherent powers to issue additional guidelines as necessary and fit to exercise to exercise regulation, okay, by way of imposing disciplinary measures to higher education institutions or enterprises or accredited NGOs and other persons found to be violating certain provisions of RA 9163. It is to be remembered that the previous IRR is silent about disciplinary measures, but this time we have this part of the amendments from the IRR of NSTP RA 9163 of 2009. Okay, now on fees and incentives on Rule 4, particularly Section 9. So the NSTP fees of students of SUCs, note, qualified LUCs or local universities and colleges, and TVIs shall be covered by Republic Act 10931, also known as the Universal Access to Free Quality Tertiary Education Act. So I know that PSU students, okay, enjoy much of the privileges, okay, accorded by the government through Republic Act 10931. Additionally, we have on Section 10 on incentives, a scholarship program specifically for the ROTC cadets shall be provided by the Commission on Higher Education and the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Now on the organization, okay, so what will happen? Okay, so the graduates of the non-ROTC components of NSTP shall belong to the NSRC. So this is what I'm talking about, no? NSRC, okay, and may be mobilized by the state for literacy and civic welfare activities, okay, so especially in DRRM or disaster risk reduction and management. Okay, so this is in coordination with the network and members of or through the disaster risk reduction and management councils at the different levels, in partnership with concerned agencies, organizations, and non-government agencies. So as for ROTC, they shall be organized into school-based ready reserve units, okay, in the same way students, okay, that are graduates of the non-military program components while still in the university or the higher education institution concerned, okay, may be admitted as members, okay, to what we call as SBNU or the school-based NSRC unit. Okay, so the purpose, okay, particularly of the SRRU, okay, in a similar way with the SBNU, is to sustain training and respond to contingencies with their campuses as their mobilization centers with the proper and necessary coordination with HEIs or TVIs in accordance with the rules, regulations, or appropriate orders from the Department of National Defense and AFP. Then we have the other miscellaneous provisions. Okay, so as to effectivity, it was signed by the tripartite agencies in 2021, was entered into the official gazette and published on February 28, 2022, and effectivity of which was after 15 days. Okay. Thus, in March 16, 2022, this particular IRR, new IRR was promulgated. Okay, so these are some of the guidelines that have been amended, and particularly in relation to the NDRIMC memorandum order on the IGP, okay, of IGP, NSRC IGP. Okay, so we have the following guiding principles. Okay. Okay, so we have particularly the section on organization of NSTP graduates. Okay. So this is the strategic, the schematic diagram that will explain what we aim for in so far as Republic Act 9163 is concerned. Okay, so the implementation, okay, is to be observed in two phases. Okay, so the NSTP phase for the first phase, and then we have the NSRC phase, okay, which actually is the sequel of NSTP. Okay. So note that there are three program components. So we have the military training service, or ROTC. Okay. We have the civic welfare training service, or CWTS, and then we have the literacy training service, or LTS. So as pointed out, no, in my earlier discussion, the graduates of the military training service, okay, will form part of the AFP Reserve Force. Okay, while the graduates of the CWTS or the LTS as non-military program components, they will be under the National Service Reserve Corps. So for this to be operationalized and the members mobilized, okay, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, no, shall, okay, govern the organization, mobilization, operationalization of the reserve force. In the same way, the DND, or particularly the OCD, or the Office of the Civil Defense, no, will be in charge of training the members of the NSRC in order for them to be equipped in responding to any disasters once they are mobilized under the auspices of the National Service Reserve Corps. So these are the specific guidelines and procedures, okay, pertaining to the issuance of serial number in order for the graduates to be mobilized. Okay, and so as a requirement for membership to the NSRC, okay, so they must be issued, okay, serial numbers. So this is also observed in the reserve force of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Okay, so as national security, okay, is the concern of every citizen as mandated in the 1987 Constitution. So the National Service Training Program serves the purpose of promoting national security. Okay. So where national security, according to NDCP, is the state or condition wherein the people's way of life and institutions, their territorial integrity and sovereignty, including their well-being, are protected and enhanced. So the program is also aimed at providing an avenue for promoting national security through its programs, CWTS, LTS, and ROTC. So the two non-military training program components, that is the CWTS and LTS, will after graduation from these program components, you know, form part of the National Service Reserve Corps, okay, under, okay, the umbrella of the Office of Civil Defense, okay, particularly the Disaster Preparedness Service. So they will be trained, motivated, and organized, okay, in order for them to fulfill their functions as a reserve corps, reserve unit. Okay, that can be topped by the state for DRM, civic welfare, literacy, national emergency, environmental protection, and other similar endeavors in the service of a nation. So in so doing, they may be organized in terms of the following types of NSRCs. We have the SBNU and the CBNU. SBNU is a school-based NSRC unit. CBNU is community-based. The community-based is to is to be established, okay, in the different local government units in order to uh, address, okay, the concerns of the graduates of the NSTP or NSTP, particularly the non-military program components after they graduate from their respective programs in the university or in the TVIs. Okay, so if they already complete their program of study, from the university or from the technical vocational institution, so they may be absorbed by the CBNU. But while in school, okay, because NSTP is to be completed in a period of 1 year, so they may still have 3 years in the university should they be pursuing a 4-year baccalaureate program. So in the remaining 3 years, they may be absorbed, okay, to serve as reservist, okay, under the so-called school-based NSRC unit. Okay. So the CBNU or the community-based NSRC unit, okay, will be accredited, and yeah, they will be accredited under the so-called ACDV program. So I already have mentioned this, the accredited community disaster volunteers. Okay, so for them to be able to officially function, okay, and for them to be able to render official services under the CBNU. Okay, so it may be under the LGU LDRMO, okay, of the Department of Interior Local Government. But since school-based NSRC units are established in the campus, okay, it will be under the jurisdiction of the Commission on Higher Education and TESDA, as the case may be. So that is for the non-military program components. Okay. But for the ROTC, as the focus of attention is military training, okay, so whether Philippine Army, Philippine Navy, or Philippine Armed Force, okay, so they may be a ready reserve or a standby reserve. And for purposes of humanitarian and disaster response, or HADR, Integrated Territorial Defense System, or ITDS, or military auxiliary service. Okay. So both the ready reserve and the standby reserve, they provide the base for the expansion of the armed forces of the Philippines in the event of war, okay, invasion or rebellion, and to assist in relief and rescue during disasters or calamities, to assist in socioeconomic development, and to assist in the operation and maintenance of essential government or private utilities in the furtherance of the overall mission, okay, of the armed forces of the Philippines. Okay. So to support this aim, so we have, as shared to you earlier, okay, the NDRIMC Memorandum Order, okay, through resolution number 4, series of 2021. Okay. The updated implementing guidelines and procedures, or IGP, for the accreditation and operationalization of the National Service Reserve Corps. Okay. And then we have the complementary memorandum issued by the National Disaster Coordinating Council, okay, on the strengthening of the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management System, and providing for the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Framework, and institutionalizing the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Plan, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Okay. So we have this, the IGP, and the memorandum order. Okay. And these are the salient stipulations, okay, where the general objective of the memorandum is to provide guidelines on the accreditation and operationalization of NSRC. Okay. So the more specifically, the objectives are as follows. Okay. And also in the same document, the following terms were defined. We have the accredited community disaster volunteer or ACDV, the CB Dream. We have the NSRC Reserve Group or NRG. We have the SBNU. We have the VMO, the Volunteer Mobilizing Organization, and the general guidelines. And of course, discussion of other important matters like responsibilities, mission, and function. Okay. So this is to sum up the very mission of the NSRC, which I will not elaborate in the interest of time and in order for me to be able to zero in on the more important discussion highlights. Okay. So this is the proposed organizational structure of SBNUs. So from the office of the school president, the university president, we have the NSRC University Directory Office, the University NSRC Group, the NSRC sections, and the teams. Okay. So you may also have this. I am not so sure if in PSU we already have a functional school DRMO, which may also assume the role of the school-based NSRC units. Okay, so for the NSRC Reserve Group, it will be composed of the following. It may be structured in the manner as follows. Okay, so we have the headquarter leader, the assistant leader assisting, and then we have under the group leader, the admin officer, logistics officer, information officer, operations and training officer. Okay, then we have also the NSRC section leader, okay, where we have this particular sub organization for the NSRC. Okay, so this is the process of databasing of SBNUs. So relative to the accreditation, so we follow this flow chart. Then we have the utilization and the mobilization. Okay. All right. Okay. So as to DRM, which has been mentioned several times in the said documents, okay, the community-based disaster risk reduction and management process is observed in a cycle from forming the barangay disaster risk reduction and management council. Then we have the conduct of participatory community risk assessment to planning and then implementation, and then we have the monitoring and evaluation. Okay, and then back to another round because it is cyclical for the process of the CB3. So during the community risk assessment, okay, the different members partake in analyzing potential hazards and evaluating vulnerabilities of the communities. Okay, then we have the creation of the barangay-based DRM committee. Okay. So you may have this for basis of establishing your adopted communities for DRM purposes. The following structure. So we have the the NSRC, heading the BDRRMC. And down below, you have the Prevention and Mitigation Subcommittee, Preparedness Subcommittee, Response Subcommittee, Rehabilitation and Recovery Subcommittee. Okay. And this BDRRMC will be assisted by the DRMO, particularly in matters pertaining to admin and training, research and planning, and warning and operation. So as I have averred earlier, we conducted a study on DRR and training and volunteer management of NSRCs in 2015. So this is a research project of the university in partnership with the local government academy, through its RIP initiative, or the Research Engagement and Advocacy Program. And where we had more than 100 higher education institutions, both private and state universities and colleges and LUCs. Okay. And this is the summary of the extent of management of management capacity, rather. Okay. And the result was actually not as high as we expected it to be. Okay, it was midway. It was moderate in all the 7 thematic areas, such as DRR's internal priority, risk assessment, monitoring and warning, knowledge and education, underlying risk factors, preparedness and response, evaluation of local level government initiatives, and cross-cutting issues. And this is due to the following constraining factors. But alongside, we also have identified the enabling factors. Okay. So with this in mind, and in response to what we have identified, so several agreements and actions taken by the different agencies, okay, such as the National Anti-Poverty Commission, okay, supporting the review and strict implementation of 9163, or the NSTP law. Okay. Okay. So that paved the way, for the amendment. Okay. So now allow me to sum it up to our participants. So some frequently asked questions about NSTP. I know this is basic, but the primary intention of an orientation is to raise the level of awareness of all concerned. So I know that you know already about this NSTP as embodied in Republic Act 9163, which actually is a program that is aimed at enhancing civic consciousness and defense preparedness in the youth. And this is done by developing the ethics of service and patriotism, okay, through the 3 program components that are specially designed to enhance the active contribution of the youth to the general welfare. So there are 3 program components. So we have the Reserve Officers Training Corps, okay, that is designed to provide military training to tertiary level students in order to motivate, train, organize, and mobilize them for national defense preparedness. Then we have the non-military program components, such as literacy training service, okay, designed to train the students to teach literacy and numeracy skills to school children, out-of-school youth, and other segments of society in need of their services. Civic Welfare Training Service is the 3rd of the 3 program components, referring to activities contributory to the general welfare and the betterment of life for the members of the community, or the enhancement of its facilities. those developed to improving health, education, environment, entrepreneurship, safety, recreation, and morals, that's morals, of the citizenry and other social services. So as as pointed out, all incoming freshmen, male and female, enrolled in any baccalaureate in at least 2-year technical, vocational, or associate courses are required to complete one NSTP component of their choice as a graduation requirement. How will the NSTP be taken up? It shall, of course, be taken in an academic period of 2 semesters and credited for 3 units per semester with 54 to 90 training hours per semester. So what if the NSTP cannot be taken up during the regular semester? Okay, so this is again subject to approval by the Commission on Higher Education should there be case involving inability of a student to take during regular semesters the NSTP. So there may be, okay, in lieu of the 2-semester program, a 1 summer program. Okay, but you see, this is one of the gray areas, okay, because the summer program was meant to be a program to address the problems alongside the transition back then. But of course, it was carried over time, you know, when the implementing rules and regulations, you know, were revised, you know, in 2009, and then in the most recent revision, okay, the carrying over of the term 1 summer program. Okay, but of course, the design, the program, you know, shall be formulated and adopted by the Department of National Defense, Commission on Higher Education, and TESDA, subject to the capability of the school, okay, and the AFP. AFP because you see, we have a summer program for ROTC. You know, that's why for the non-military, this is something to contend with, because the implementation of such, you know, may not be aligned or consistent, okay, to the regular run of the program. Okay. So what if the NSTP program component chosen by a student is not offered, okay, in his or her school? Well, schools that do not meet the required number of students in order to conduct a program component, or do not offer the component chosen by their students, shall allow them to cross-enroll. That is if the institution doesn't, okay, offer. Okay, but in the case of SUC, SUCs like PSU, mandatory, no, it is mandatory to offer ROTC and 1 other component. Okay. So I already have mentioned this. So even this one, okay, I already have mentioned about the advanced ROTC and the charging. So no fees shall be collected for any of the NSTP component except basic tuition fees, which should not be more than 50%, okay, of the charges of the school per academic unit. So if the per unit charge of the institution is 100, okay, so only 50%. Okay, so since it's a 3-unit, 300 times 50%, that is 150 pesos. So what student incentives can be provided? So this may be considered, okay, in the course of considering what what benefits may be derived, and the responsible organizations and the agencies, the lead agencies in the monitoring, and of course the availability of the program components. Okay, so in the same way, as I have already introduced, the Commission on Higher Education thought of coming up with a specific memorandum, okay, to be issued by the Commission on Higher Education, because ever since there was, okay, no memorandum order to that effect, So that's the creation of the TWG, okay, which included the Philippine Society of NSTP Educators and Implementers, who were tasked, okay, to do all of this. No? So these are the this is the scope of the responsibility of the TWG. So we have the finalization of the NSTP guidelines and minimum standards. We have the passing of the CHED and TESDA Joint Memorandum Circular on the issuance of the NSTP serial number. Okay, so we have the implementation, training of trainers. Okay, and then we have the development of NSTP modules. Okay, and then we have the crafting of the NSTP implementation assessment. Okay, so chaired by yours truly. So I proposed for the PSTE the specific guidelines, but I did not include that anymore in this particular presentation. So these are the stipulations of the revised minimum standards, particularly for NSTP 1, specific and optional, common, specific and optional modules. Okay, so let's start with the common modules. So there's still this provision on common modules. It remain as is, and as stipulated in the past, it shall be covering 5 modules. Okay, so these 5 topics were mentioned in Rule 3, Program Implementation, Section number 4. Okay, and during this phase, the common module phase, the students are expected to gain knowledge, skills, and attitude towards deepened understanding and heightened appreciation of their role in the promotion of common good and general welfare. So further, they are expected to demonstrate learning by applying concepts and principles on practical situations in pursuit of community development for the tasks of nation building. So these are the 4, okay, common module aims, under the acronym IDEA. Inculcate the spirit of patriotism, nationalism, and good citizenship values as potent force in nation building, develop their physical, moral, spiritual, intellectual, and social well-being, enhance civic consciousness and defense preparedness of the students, and advance their involvement in civic and public affairs. Okay, so we have the 5 topics. So we have the citizenship training, okay, with the following scope of instruction for a total of 6 hours. Okay, and these are the methodologies and the references. Drug education. Okay, we have disaster awareness, preparedness, and management. Okay, we have also environmental protection and other national security concerns. So these are the 5 common modules, and this is to be taken in the first 25 hours. Okay, so that's why it's called the common module phase now, for the first 25 hours. Now, then we have the specific modules, which may be, I said which may be, because the institutions are given the option to implement at least 54 to 90 hours or more. Okay, so it may be implemented for a period of 29 hours. Okay, so the set of specific modules, okay, was designed for non-military program components. So that CWTS and the LTS, okay, and these modules shall be taken after completing the common module phase. And should the student have decided already to pursue non-military program components or ROTC. Okay, so equivalent to about 29 hours. Okay, the modular topics covered herein will help the students acknowledge their roles in the society they belong, especially in engaging themselves to activities contributory to the general welfare as what the components are intended to. Okay, so in this particular phase, okay, students are being introduced to community-based activities such as preparation of their involvement to the National Service Reserve Corps, which they will be part of when they they complete NSTP. Okay, so the NSRC is an organization composed of graduates of the CWTS and LTS components, tasked to provide a trained, motivated, and organized manpower reserve. Okay, so the number of hours, okay, is defined according to the scope and depth of the topics. So specifically, the specific modules aims to, number one, acquire additional insights in the enhancement of civic consciousness and defense preparedness by reinforcing concepts of self-awareness, volunteerism, disaster preparedness and readiness, peace building, as well as community-based project management. Number two, we have deepened understanding on community involvement of students along the various aspects of national sustainable development in advancing more specific and relevant community action. And finally, develop deeper appreciation of the roles the students play in terms of community participation, display of nationalism and patriotism, and exercise of good citizenship values through genuine civic national service. Okay, so these are the topics. We have self and Filipino society, volunteerism, peace education, and then we have specifically for the fourth topic, it will vary depending on whether you take NSTP or CWTS or LTS. Okay, and then we have introduction to community-based management. So this is the specific, and now comes the optional. What is this optional modules for? So this can be implemented in a period of 36 hours, more or less. So considering that higher educational institutions are given the option to extend the training hours to NSTP to a maximum of 90 hours, the set of optional modules can be delivered, okay, to this amount of time, 36 more or less. So these optional modules for CWTS and LTS based on the prescribed minimum standards earlier prescribed alongside the promulgation of the revised RR of 2009 and eventually the 2022 revisions will provide avenues for additional training of the students and preparing them to become active members of the NSRC. So students are expected to gain added knowledge, skills, and attitude that are relevant in the performance of their duties as citizens and as NSRC reservists. So the objectives, okay, of these modules are, number one, exemplify leadership and community services among the youth in pursuit of the aims of NSTP and NSRC. Two, transform the students into community leaders and nation builders for efficient and effective community-based programs, projects, and recognition of their citizenship roles. And number three, we have create awareness among community partners and stakeholders in promoting civic consciousness, nationalism, and ethics of service. So we have leadership training, community exposure, agency visits, community service. So relative to that, okay, the same TWG have had part of the set of responsibilities, the development of some modules, which are now available in the portal of the Commission on Higher Education. For example, we have good citizenship. We have about 2. And these are the contents. So we have development of national service training, okay, Bill of Rights. We have the United Nations Principle of Human Rights. We have the Flag and Heraldic Code of the Philippines. Okay. Then we have those that were not covered in the formulation of the module, but is available in some work text like the one we have with Mucha publishing, I should say. This is the revised edition and is consistent with the latest IRR of 9163, revised minimum standards for common and specific and other related issuances. So we have for module number 3, drug and substance abuse prevention and control. Okay, the following, we have the facts about the nature of drug and drug abuse, the national drug situation. Okay. We have the Comprehensive Drugs Act of 2002, okay, and the role of the youth. Now for module number 4, we have disaster risk reduction and management, the overview of Philippine disaster management system, the concepts, okay, the role of the youth in disaster preparedness, the involvement of youth in community-based disaster risk reduction and management. Now, for environmental protection, so we have the following contents. Okay, so we have intro, and then we have the environmental principles, laws, and regulations. We have forest protection, conservation, and development. We have water sanitation and conservation. Okay. Now, for other national security concerns, okay, this was prepared by the NSA. Okay, the following contents. We have national security policy, national security strategy, even cybersecurity, radicalization and recruitment of the youth by the local terrorist groups, okay, and others. Now, additionally, the specific common modules, we have the following: self and Filipino society. Okay, so the following learning content, okay, particularly nature of self. We have the 4 citizenship clusters. Also, we have promoting youth volunteerism. Okay, focusing on concepts and principles underpinning volunteerism, motivations and importance of volunteering and bayanihan in spirit, okay, and promoting youth volunteerism. Then we have peace education. Okay, topics like theories of peace, holistic understanding of peace, need for peace education, the role of the youth in promoting and maintaining peace in the community. Okay, we also have a module on community-based management with the following course contents: NSTP leadership training, centering on concept of leadership, human behavior, leading direction, communication, motivation, leadership styles, teamwork, time management, decision-making, and its importance. And then we have a specific module on health and wellness. Okay. So we have the following inclusions. We also have, I heard earlier that you have a speaker on voter education. So we have this part of the good citizenship module. Okay. We have the legal basis of voter education, okay, basic information on election, particularly history, history of Philippine election, okay, and so on and so forth. Okay, and good citizenship values. Okay. Then for LTS 1 and 2, so we have the following. We have for LTS 1, principles on facilitating learning and techniques, principles of learning, nature and aspects of learning process, instructional materials, methods of teaching for non-formal targets. And then we have this for NSTP 2 case, which highlights on the following. Okay. We have the determining of community problems and concerns and planning of some viable intervention measures, analyzing of the needs of the target audience, participating in planning, organizing, evaluating, community immersion engagement, appreciating the value of community immersion engagement. So that will be for the first part, okay, NSTP 1, NSTP CWTS/LTS1. Now for NSTP CWTS LTS2, okay, also covering 54 to 90 hours. So we have the following. Okay. At the moment, we don't have any guidelines passed by the Commission on Higher Education, but we already have it for review of the CEB of the Commission on Higher Education. Okay, so we have the following topics. We have only 3. No, we have introduction to organization and mobilization. We have community-based project implementation, and then we have the annual NSTP performance. But then again, the specific guidelines are not yet available. So relative to this, we have also this module crafted, part of what we were able to accomplish as TWG members. So we have the introduction to the National Service Reserve Corps organization, operation, and mobilization for civic engagements through acts of volunteerism, with the following learning contents. Okay. Okay. And then, yeah, so if you will have to take a look at the revised minimum guidelines, okay, the first part, okay, has the following. Okay, so we have 25 hours, okay, for citizenship training, okay, with 6 hours, drug education 3 hours, disaster awareness, preparedness and management 8 hours. Then we have environmental protection and other national security concerns 3 and 6 respectively. For the specific modules, we have 39. And then we have for optional the rest. Okay. For NSTP 2, okay, we have intro to organization and mobilization 3 hours. Then we have CB Dream for 24 hours. Okay. Then we have for action planning and project implementation another 12 hours. And then we have the performance evaluation for 8 hours, thereby total of 54. So the main feature now of the revise is CB Dream. Okay, and this, as mentioned to you, actually it is under the auspices of the training of the members. No, is under the care of the OCD. Okay. So in 2021, if I'm not mistaken, okay, the then Director of Office of Civil Defense, Dr. Wangko, okay, came up with this, okay, this guide for the creation of DRM for the common module. So I'm not going to discuss the entire because it is consists basically of 152 slides. But CB Dream has been given a special attention, okay, to the set of modular topics covered in CWTS and LTS, okay, for the first and the second part. Okay. So I'm not going to dwell on this. I'll go back to the last few slides. So we have